It's better to have real solitude all by yourself.
To yet another exciting episode of the Betheny Book Online Review Show. Kamala Munoptula Miss Bongo, Sona Sagamaboza, Empare, Babantibang Bambita Chipion Kasi Chipoli. This channel is all about getting you to be immersed in the culture of reading and reading with understanding as well. They say that a reading person or a reading nation is well capable of leading, and that's exactly what we aim to achieve on the show. So do make sure that you do click like, you do also subscribe, and also alternatively share on your personal platforms. Let's get this conversation going. Let's get this conversation flowing. So joining me in studio is a gentleman that I think is a creative through and through. He is a writer, a poet, a voiceover artist. He's a lot of things. I don't think I can be able to bottle it up in just one thing. He's known as Bongani, but you can affectionately so call him Bongani The Author. Sawubona.
Sanibonani khaya ninjani?
Ngiyaphila.
No, by God's grace, we are well. We are super well, and we are excited. You know, when my name was called up, I was like, wow.
Why?
Levels.
Listen,
yes.
Grace takes you to levels upon levels upon levels.
Come on, yes.
Listen, you are an author. You are a writer. You are a singer. Where does it stop? Where does it stop? Where does it come to an end?
The Bible say in a Zulu, in my Zulu version, the Bible says, whatever your hand find it to do, do it with all your might. You know, so that's where it ends for me. If my hand can still find it,
you'll do it.
If it's within my reach,
you'll do it.
I'm definitely doing it.
You'll do it.
And I'm not only doing it, but I'm mastering it, because that's what I've learned. I've learned the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So through His strength, I'm able to do basically anything that I put my mind on. Yeah, so it never stops.
You know, there's one thing I knew is that we were going to go to church.
Yes.
We were going to go to church.
And we went to church like quickly.
Also. Listen, your book, The Burning Bush, literally launched you. Can I say launched you?
Yeah.
Literally put you up there.
Yeah.
I think take us through the whole writing process that you went through when writing the book, specifically that one book.
My Burning Bush. My Burning Bush is, you know, I always say when God gave me my burning bush, I think He was showing off. You know, He began showing impama of a blessing, because there I was. I had a comfortable corner office. You know, I was a distribution manager. You know, in a phone, in a aircon. You know, and yeah, I was the man. You know, I was living the dream. You know, building my life. By the way, Bongani The Author is married to one wife, proudly.
Well, we had to put that out there.
Yes, one wife, Uzandile Zwane, and he's also a father, a son, and yeah, I'm a lot of things. So going back to going back to my burning bush. So there I was building a life, a family life, you know, being this responsible father, this responsible husband.
Which is the norm.
You know, yeah. And everything was going well. Up until up until at work, for some odd reason, they suspended me. You know, after Yabona Moyens or something, and you were thinking Rambo. You know, I was thinking I saved the day. You know, I was thinking I took ownership, and there's a consignment that needed to go out, but there were hassles. You know, and I made sure I pulled all the stops, sent the stock to Botswana. Unfortunately, the company thought there was fraudulent activities that happened. They did their investigation, and guess what? because ngabantwana bakaNkulunkulu and righteousness is into yethu, it's what God gave us. They couldn't find a single thing, that I did wrong. So they then changed the charge, because I was charged. They changed the charge to saying I did not declare that my wife, who's been my wife for the past 12 years, is my wife. So, and funny enough, my office space was just a wall full of my wife's pictures. Fast forward to the day the Lord gave me my burning bush. So I resigned at work. And then as I was resigning, I was going through that tough time. I was really depressed. But I can say it was not a good space to be. But I trusted God. I knew he had a plan. And he gave me this book, My Burning Bush. And how it even came about, I was in a conversation that was not going well between me and HR. And after that conversation, I realized there was an email that said, I am fighting for you, God. It was an unread email, my emails one. And then when I called my wife to say, I saw this email, I'm fighting for you, God, she said, I think God is giving you your burning bush experience. So that's how I'm trying to fast track the story. That's how the name My Burning Bush came about. Because she said, I think God is giving you your burning bush experience with what you're going through. Then I wrote the book. And I've always been a writer, but I was not writing purposely. I was writing for fun. I was writing to push time. I wrote short stories, lovely short stories, and share them between friends and family, But then when I was faced with this Goliath of me now being unemployed, then God gave me this book. He said, write a book. The name is My Burning Bush. And I started writing the book. And the book was some sort of a miracle, because we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't the burning bush. I wouldn't have met the number of people that I've met. God wouldn't have opened all the doors that he had opened for me had he not given me my burning bush experience.
So, I was thinking about the book, and I'm like, is this like a Moses moment?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So you are the manifestation of Moses.
No, I think
21st century.
I think all of us, I say in the book, we all have a burning bush moment. It's just sometimes some of us don't know.
We don't realize.
Look, Moses murders someone. He's running away from Egypt because he's in trouble.
Yes.
How many of us are in trouble? How many of us have found ourselves faced head on with trouble? So he is running away from his past, and then he's met by a burning bush. And then upon scrutiny, he gets closer to it to understand what's going on.
Yes.
Why is the bush burning but not consumed?
Yes.
And then he discovers God wanted to introduce him to a man that he did not know. He was a coward running away. After the burning bush experience, God sends him back to the same place where he killed, the same place where he murdered, the very same place where he broke the law. God said, I'm sending you back to that place. So all of us have a burning bush experience, and the burning bush experience is a great exchange. Is when God takes away the weak you or the weaker you, and he introduces you to a stronger you, a woman or a man that you did not know about you. So that's all of us have a burning bush experience.
We are burned but not consumed.
We are burned but not consumed. Yes.
We become like gold.
Aibo. And gold is purified through the fire.
And the creator of gold is God. Right, we move.
Yes,
we move.
Levels,
listen, yes. Your book is self-published.
Yes.
Take me through the success stories, and I think also highlight the shortcomings that exist in that, because people think self-published is easy. Take me through that whole experience.
It's very tough. It's very tough. I wrote my book. I think within 3 months I was done with the writing of the book, with editing the book, with proofreading the book. I bounced it off to a few friends, to help me proofread it, to help me pick up those grammatical errors, spelling errors that I might have not picked up. And then I was well on my way And then now the book is ready. I don't have the cash now to print the book. I don't I did not even have a printing company. I did not even know where to go. The part that needed only me and God was done. That's why the Bible says, do not despise the days of small beginnings. And whenever God gives you something, you do what you're able to do, and what you cannot do, you leave it to Him. So I found myself, the book is done. The book is ready. The product is there. But how do I get it out now? And I was stuck. I did not have money. I did not have the funds. Remember, being self-published means you rely mostly on the internet to guide you, to give you the guidelines.
Sure.
With, okay, this is how you do a layout of the book. So it requires you to be smart,
Sure.
or to be able to read and understand instructions. So it's a very tough, scary journey. But I thank God, because he was giving me my burning bush experience. So the burning bush experience meant I'm stronger. It meant I'm able to now take the blows, because I was stuck. That's when I got a little bit depressed, because I was thinking, now everything is done, but what do I do now? What's the next step that I need to take? Fortunately for me, I found a printing company that was reasonable, and when I had a conversation with them, and they, without me even paying them, they started doing the layouts for me. They did the proof copy for me, and then I could actually see my idea being an actual book. So being a self-published author is difficult, or self-publishing is difficult, but it's doable.
It's doable.
And what I've done is, since I went through that hard journey of being self-published, I help other like-minded authors. If a person wants to go the route of self-publishing, I help. I give them a helping hand. I help them publish. Yeah.
All right. So you publish that book. It goes out.
Yeah, boy.
Who does it reach first? If you still remember, who did it reach first?
Okay. The plan was, the first copy was going to. I was going to give it to my mom. That was the plan. But there's this woman who bought the copy. So on my way to deliver my first copy to my mom, and then she said, "Man of God, I'm ready for the book. Please pass by me." So, and unfortunately for my mom, to my mom's place.
Yes.
So I started there, delivered the book, and then eventually my mom got her copy, right? But I think what's more interesting about my burning bush journey is I had no contacts. I knew no radio people. I did not know any Noctula then. I did not know any Mabuza then. It was just me, myself, and I. And I had to keep knocking at doors. And I knocked. One of the things that people are good at rejecting something that they don't know. People are prone to change. People don't like anything that says they must enter into a new sphere of doing his
It's uncomfortable also.
Like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? You having this book? My cover is a picture of Inwelenje is yellow, So also even the cover was catchy, but also intimidating.
Yeah.
But like, dude, So by God's grace, I got my first radio interview. I got my first TV interview. It was done by a local TV production in Davidton. And from there on, I saw God opening small doors leading to big and even bigger doors. My burning bush literally launched me. It introduced me to the world. It basically took what God, the man that God introduced me to, when He gave me my burning bush, that was launched by the actual book, My Burning Bush, because the book opened doors I never even knew existed. I never growing up, I used to wonder.
Yes.
I was not lomntwana lo nohlakaniphile. So I used to ask myself, how did those people end up there?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'd even ask them, I'd even go to the back, I wanted, that was my dream as a kid.
Yeah.
TV. I did not know which literally TV, and I won't have to ngena ngama back door, but I'll ngena through the main doors.
It's grace will pave way.
It's grace. Yes.
Grace will pave way. All right. So you've also published. After that, it's 2 more books. There's one book that I want to specifically also delve into because it covers a pandemic, and you're in a pandemic, experiencing multiple pandemics.
Yes.
But just briefly, the other 2 that you also wrote, what are their names?
It's actually 3. So there's Under Fire, the Marriage Institution, that talks about umshado and how beautiful umshado is, and how all of us, somewhere uNkulunkulu has given us our beautiful partners or spouses, So if you want to get married, get yourself a copy of Under Fire, the Marriage Institution. It will even teach you how do you choose the right partner. All right. And then there's Untold, a collection of short stories where I just talk about Kasi stories written by a Kasi dude, which is me. And then there's A Little Unlucky. A Little Unlucky, I call it a community of unlucky people. It's a number of characters that are there. It's a few characters that are there that have experienced a lot of izinto that went good in their lives, and they found themselves thinking they're unlucky, But what I like about all of those characters in the unlucky community is the fact that they live on. Is the fact that throughout all the pains, the hardships, there's many characters there. There's a character that I love that's called Lungile. Lungile is a young girl or innocent who ends up being repeatedly raped by a neighbor, and my parents they moved to another town, and she thinks it continues. It's no longer the neighbor now, it's other people. Up until it gets to a point where she's angry. She's feeling so unlucky. She's feeling there's something wrong with her. To a point that she then ends up saying she'll rain down vengeance on all the men abakhona emhlabeni. So she ends up losing it. She ends up using sex as a tool to lure men in, and then as soon as men have entered into her life, then she makes sure she hurts them in ngendlela zakhe that she was really good at. So A Little Unlucky community has such stories. Has stories that talk about fathers that were present, but according to the law. Because most of the time when we think fatherlessness, we're thinking absent fathers.
Sure.
We're thinking dads that are present but that are not there.
Sure.
But what we forget is there's a rare breed of men, which I call them presently or present. Even though the society deems them not present, or the law, there's fathers that raise abantwana bamakhosikazi wabo. Mhlambe when they got married, the wife already had a kid. There's fathers that are raising abantwana babosisi babo. They are still men. They are fathers. They are there. They are physically there, but according to the law, or biologically, they're not abobaba balabantwana.
Sure.
But even though they're not abobaba balabantwana, but they are fathers.
Sure.
So there's also that it's a rare breed of men.
Yeah.
Because you find with a lot of them, they go through depression because they are available to these kids.
Sure.
But sometimes when these kids grow up, they realize, but nah, dude, you're not my dad.
Yeah.
I was told, and they go on a hunt now to find their real fathers. So then in A Little Unlucky, I talk about such fathers who are so unlucky to a point in which they raise kids who in turn never recognize them.
Sure.
As their fathers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think though, because I wanted to also specifically focus on that, do you think Uguti, is the anyone supposed to be feeling guilty there? The absent dad? the mother or even the child that's now like,
you know, truth of the matter is, someone told me this statement many years back.
Sure.
Ukuthi umntwana ongenayo ubaba, biological father that is, they will always look for ubaba wabo. Because they will hear somehow ngabo baba babo, their biological fathers, and it will create an interest to say maybe my dad is different from the man that I've always called dad impilo yami yonke. You know, so umntwana in that case akekho wrong eqinisweni, because truth be told, nothing stays hidden forever. You know, it's just that the process, the transition that happens between umntwana omkhulisile when they now want their biological father, the transition is a painful one. Because it's not easy. Because this man who would have sacrificed it all, you know, to raise lo mntwana, now lo mntwana kuba ngathi sekathi, you know, I don't recognize you as a father. Then there's also into equity. Now there's ubaba no mama in this relationship. There's a certain role that the mother has to play now that umntwana wants to meet the biological father. There's a certain role that I have to play, or the man has to play now that umntwana lona says, I want to meet my father. So I think the Gupana discourse, when it comes to that, that's when families break. A lot of families have broken from that. Because there's this pandemic scenario of fatherlessness, of fathers that baprekis abantu and they disappear. That we used to. That we know how to deal with. You know, that we've seen it, all of us somehow have experienced absenteeism of our fathers. You know, my dad was physically there, you know, for many years. Like my dad passed away when I was 40, you know, and he was there. I've known him all my life. But he only knew ukuthi ngiqedile isikolo when ngiqeda isikolo. There was a time when he did not even know the grade ebengiyenza. There was a time when he would promise me we'd go to town. Funny, I remember these things now that I'm old. And I'd get ready, you know, I'd prepare, daddy's taking me to town. Remember, this is the man who was amazing at some point. He was my superhero. He took me out for ice cream. He took me, my first merry-go-round experience was with him. You know, so I loved him so much. So whenever he made a promise to say we will do A, I will just, you know, gladly think we'll do that. But somehow, because life gets difficult, he lost it somewhere in the way and he became absent. He found himself aphuza utshwala. He found himself, but he was literally there. So I wrote about him in the book as well, because there's a story that's called the time alarm. You know, that's when I was talking about him, because much as it did not go well at some point between me and him, what I admired about him is he never left us, even though he was absent because due to substance abuse. He was an alcoholic, you know, but he was there. He came back every night, you know, and at some point then God fixed our relationship, but it took because at one point he was abusive and so that type of fatherlessness we are used to, you know, because so many families I have experienced that with ubaba ukhona, either ubaba ukhona but usebenza kude, you know, labor migration, you know, either ubaba ukhona but akasahlali nathi, uhlala 2 streets you know, down the road, you know. So we know that type of fatherlessness. Esingayazi ilena yabo baba bakhona ba present, but umthetho deems them as which they not. When umthetho says, but you're not this child's father, and you're saying, but I've been their dad ever since they are born, and then this umthetho uthi, but biologically, so that's an angle that I was bringing go a little unlucky, you know, because there are men who've experienced that. There are men who've taken their lives because bayakhulisa abantwana, but abantwana at the later stage rejected them as abobaba.
Yeah. Can I leave on it? Because at some point life will throw those daggers at a person, specifically men too. And we, the victims, get immersed in so much anger.
Yeah.
Do you think, as Bongani the author, there's any way, me as the victim, I can find a way through that anger to sort of be like, stalking tataka, we can forge a relationship? Because in fact, but is there a way?
There is. Most of the time, what we do in Abantu is we want to forgive people because they came to us and said, forgive me. Okay. But a lot of people will never have a chance to say, forgive me, Mdanam. I messed you up. I did not know with me not being present in Puleniako was going to hit you this bad. You know, abanye whilst we're waiting for them, they will pass on. You know, so as a victim, as I'm a victim of that, I've experienced it. And the only way was through forgiving my dad. But look, I forgave my dad, but he did not change. He still maintained indlela yakhe of doing things. Yeah. It meant I still saw him every day, you know. But what brought the change in me? Ngesizulu bathi be the change you want to see, or is it Sotho? I think it's Sotho. But be the change you want to see. So most of the time when you want to see change or want to experience change, bring that change. If you want people to live peaceably together, then be the one who brings the peace. Because most of the time we want things to be done for us, but when you're disappointed, when you're angry at your father or your mother or whoever that the anger eats up on you. Unfortunately, but it's like taking a poison. Right? We prepare
the next person
and then you're expecting the person guess what? They're not going to die. They're going to continue with their lives. You know, so this is a message that I'm carrying through and through to say, forgive those who have hurt you. Forgive those who have betrayed you. Forgive those who left you. You know, Singapantwana, we did not ask to be born. We did not ask to be born into broken families. True. We did not ask to be born into poor families. True. But unfortunately, we were born into those families. But that's because God allowed it, because there's lessons we needed to learn. True. There's a certain person that I wouldn't have been had my father not treated us as his family the way he did at one point. True. You know, it propelled me with Nkule to man up, you know, and be able to learn what my dad did. I don't want my kids to experience it. I want my kids to know the full love of a father. True. Yeah. True.
Because I think the experiences that when the father is absent or the mother, if any of those two main pillars are absent, it changes you. It changes the outlook. It changes how you're going to treat people. Olaga is a very dangerous thing. It's true what you're saying. It's poison. And then you're poisoning yourself. You're poisoning also your lineage, because it's going to continue to your lineage. Your children are going to be poisonous because it's something you never dealt with. And I think also in the black community, it's something, forgiveness, it's something we don't really do because we don't understand. We don't understand the concept of accept an apology or give an apology that was never asked of you.
In fact, we get to a point where we don't even want to accept an apology. When a person comes and they say, I'm sorry, you're saying it's a little too late. You know, and like imagine we are now being thrown a lifeline. Remember, as a South Africa, as a Sizwe Mnyama, one of the things we're battling with hard is gender-based violence. True. Gender-based violence comes from us, sons who had fathers who were not present, who had fathers who were abusive. True. Who had fathers, you know, because at one point in my life, I've experienced gender-based violence like firsthand. I was there, you know, and I saw it happening, and I could not believe it. But this is a man that I admire. This is a man that I call dad, and I saw him. Right with my mom, you know, and what you think as a son or as a boy is. Because I've forgiven my father, because life has moved on, because now I'm married, you think Uguti, you've conquered those demons. And only to find that you did not face them head on. It was just feelings that you submerged. It's just feelings that you chose to forget about. And now you find yourself, every little argument you have with your wife or a partner or a person that's in your life, it's because of the simple fact that us as men, when men are hurting, we hurt. And hurting husbands are the reason for bleeding wives. And bleeding wives are the reason for broken children.
Yeah.
You know, in turn, we are breathing abantwana abakwatile that are broken, that are hurting, and we in feeding them back to the community.
It's a cycle.
So it's a cycle that never stops. I mean, ngamalanga where I think it's 80 days of activism where kuthiwa no to gender-based violence. Kuthiwa on those days washaya nje umuntu wesifazane so like uzodilika ejele. People still do it. Even when kuthiwe this is what we are protecting, you know, because behavior Lena was instilled in us as men. You know, so I talk about that. Go a little unlucky. Sometimes as men we find ourselves sikhuliswe abantu abangasikhulisanga kahle, and unfortunately kusenza sibe ama rapist, unfortunately kusenza sibe ama serial cheater, kusenza sibe abafana banamanga abahle mara banamanga.
I've always said stay away from pretty boys. They will lie to you. Right. So, Bongani, you are a creative, no? I said this at the beginning also. Which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite out of all that you do?
One of the things I did not like about me growing up was my voice. The voice is harsh. It's a coarse voice. Ila my voice lawa, yabo. Uyintwana zasekasi eziyabo. So when I grew up, my voice was like that, and I did not like that part of the voice. Yeah, and guess what? God gave me this voice to speak, and I'm so creative when it comes to this voice. I love doing voiceovers or voice acting. So sometimes I'd be given, most of the voice acting I've done, I was not even given a script. I'd come up with a script myself, and people around me would go like, wow, how did you even think of that, you know? So I'm a creative in a sense, I believe we can do all things through Christ. I believe the Bible says whatever your hand find it to do it with all your might. So I do all of these little things because I believe which uNkulunkulu give me to enrich me, but above all to enrich other people. There's people who cannot speak up. There's people who cannot write their thoughts down. There's someone who read a little unlucky and she said, I had to pause. I had to press pause. And I said, why? And she said, the book broke me because it made me face the child in me, the child that was hurting. You've captured everything that I've gone through as a child, and I could not even believe it because I'm not even a prophet, you know. So I write to tell these stories, but these stories that I'm writing about, some of them are not even my experiences, and no one has told me about them, but they are other people's experiences. So in my creativity or my creative juices flowing, I don't think there's a part that I don't like. The only part that I don't like about me being a creative is I spend most of the time where you just completely zone out of the world. You know, so I'd be chilling with my family. We're all there.
Yes, but you're not there.
But I'm gone. There's a script that's going on.
But
There's a story
mind.
yes. You know, so that's the only part. But you know, when you grow up, you get to learn to adjust.
True.
Yeah, but man, just saying when the creative juices are flowing, can I be excused? Then I go and I do whatever that I needed to do, and then I come back. And because once I don't do it, it's a calling. If I don't do what I'm called to do, I die. Yeah, so there's no part that I don't like about being creative.
You literally, I don't know it's exhausting, but you're literally using the gifts. You being like that man, one of those three men.
Yeah. 3 people, this is 3. A new 3.
But you being that, and I
Yes.
think you're understanding the importance of using what God has called you to do, because least he comes back and you've hidden your talents and there's no profit from it. Least he comes back.
And you know that story of talents, I love it because I talk about it all the time. because there's one guy that was given one talent. With the one talent, he thought with his one talent is not enough. He thought it's insignificant. What he did not know, which the one will give birth to another.
True.
You know, so when I wrote my burning bush, mina as Bongani The Author, it was the first book that I wrote. But out of my burning bush came other books. Out of my burning bush came my latest single, which is Your Grace. Out of my burning bush came other songs. So when God gave me my burning bush experience, he was introducing me to a firm. He said, look, there's a firm, there's a company, a corner inside of you, a production company, a manufacturing company. You know, ngapha ku produce my labels, ngapha produce my content, but it's a company. And I did not know that about me. So I respected the one talent. So it's important to respect the one talent. If your one talent is talking, then talk. If your one talent is selling, then sell. But the one talent would give birth to other talents. In fact, one multiplies unkulunkulu.
True.
Yebo.
Right, Bongani, I want to wrap up the this conversation, but I want to just quickly one game.
Okay.
And then, of course, you are going to usher us out with your single, your latest single. But speaking of the game, I mean, you are a writer, you're a creative, so this one, it should be easy. It should be easy. It's a riddle, and the riddle says...
It's a riddle for that matter.
But when you write books, why are you complaining?
I'll have to call my son.
Hey, but yeah.
I'll have to call MJ to help me out.
You write books.
Yeah.
So this riddle says, it must be broken before it's used. What is it?
It must be broken before it's used.
Yes.
Sure. Yo.
And I'm sure every day you use it, or once, twice a week you use it.
Yeah, like, because I'm thinking, when you're receiving a packet, we told about is sealed. But if the seal is broken,
don't use it.
Don't use it. Remember, this one, you need to break it to use it.
Let me give you a clue. It's edible.
It's edible. Okay. Yeah, no, a banana, I'll have to break it for me to... Okay. Breaking and peeling are two different things. Are you putting me on a spot? I don't know.
All right. One last clue.
Okay.
Between the chicken and it, so one of them came first.
Oh, I get it now.
I made it so easy for you, Kavanga.
And you know what's even crazy is I bake. Like, I love baking and I love cooking.
That's
so I bake it all the time before I eat it. It's an egg.
You must break it before you use it.
Seemingly
to how sometimes we must be broken before we use, by God.
Oh,
let me wrap up the show. Let me wrap up the shoot. The year is only at its beginning phases.
Yeah.
We have a couple of more months left.
No, but you're talking about being broken before God uses us. And like, you starting, okay, all right.
Because now we're going to start a whole conversation. The year is starting.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can be expecting? I mean, book, song, movie, if you must?
You know, one thing that I said a few years back was I see my stories the telenovela. Yeah, so I'm trusting God. Soon rather than later, these books will be produced into something bigger than what I wrote. Because I wrote it, someone will breathe life into it. Because my characters, they live in my head, and there's so many. And that's why my head is so big, people. Because there's a lot of characters that live in my head.
Yeah,
So what's next for me? TV. What's next for me is TV. What's next for me is I see myself, I send a lot of people to TV, I send a lot of people to radio. So what's next for me is an artist management kind of thing, about PR kind of thing, where I'm taking people and I'm introducing their gifts to the world, because that's what I'm passionate about. Sure. Because I went through so much trouble. When I had to be launched as either a musician or as a book author, it was a daunting task. So I want to make life easy for those that are coming behind me. That's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and, of course, join us. It's been a very heartwarming and a beautiful interview that we've had.
Thank you so much for having me.
May God's grace carry you throughout.
Amen.
Right. So, of course, taking us out of, not taking us out of the show, but of course, ushering us out with his single is Bongani. Stay tuned for that and a whole lot more.
Hallelujah.
Your grace is enough for me. Benefy the land, benefy the land, benefy the land. Bongani go. Your grace, Lord, your grace is enough for me. Benefy the land, benefy the land, Bongani go on, go. Your grace is enough for me. Bending up on the lag, bending up on the lag, bending up on the lag, bending up on the lag. I wasn't worthy of your love. I wasn't worthy of your grace. One little time no work. One destination. One defender. Bending up on the line. Bending up on the line. Bending upon the lag, bending upon the lag. Oh, bending upon the lag, bending upon the lag. I wasn't worthy of your love and your grace and your mercy. One defender, gangi good, yenga lazo tando. Bending upon the lag, bending upon the lag, bending upon the lag, bending upon the lag. Wangeni